GTFO. Oh yeah, LSU ends the Caitlin Clark show tonight.
Oh yeah. I don't know if we get an Angel Reese, John Cena, you can't see me point to the ring moment again. That ship has sailed, I think, but I think it happens tonight.
Aaron?
Team Angel Reese.
Think so.
We're gonna get
All
that.
But
right,
out
I'm
on Kim
in.
Mulkey. But out on Mulkey.
Yeah.
Like, what a crazy
She's-
paranoid person,
She's
by the
got to
way.
go.
Yeah.
Why would they stop talking trash now? This has been going on for years. I don't think
They
it's
won't.
going to stop.
They won't stop talking trash. No, but I mean, I don't know if it's the same. If it's the same intensity level that it was a year ago. I think a year ago there was a lot more because, to be honest, it was the national championship game. Like this is for a trip to the Final Four. I don't know if the same intensity level is there. Plus, they've already played each other again last year. I think there's definitely look. It's a Kim Mulkey team, so like, yeah, you're right. They're going to talk trash, and that's their character, that's their persona. But I don't know if it'll be at the same level as it was a year ago.
Angel also like kind of walked it back already. She's like, "Oh, it's not personal. It's just gays." Like you walked it back. Get out of here.
That's what they say. Yeah, that's what they say. There are a lot of things that were said over the last couple of days, including Zach Edey. Kind of out on him, dude. You can't sit there. Yes, congratulations. You slayed the dragon. It's awesome for you. You're a college basketball legend. Cool. Don't sit there and act like it didn't happen. Like you guys didn't keep coming up short in the most inopportune times. Like the crap that was said about Purdue before yesterday was legit. It's not like you couldn't back it up. He's out there swearing at, and then he's calling out Rick Barnes. And I'm not one to defend Rick Barnes. But like,
that was
like Rick Barnes walking out of the arena getting hit in the back, which is like strange.
You just beat him, and then he's like, hey, he was out on me. Nobody believed in me. I'm like, really? Nobody believes in you? You're about to win your second National Player of the Year. Come on.
Yeah.
The lessons we learned, I guess, or what fooled us, what we won't let fool us again in next year's tournament. I mean, could we throw the Mountain West at the top of this list? They fooled us again, Aaron. They fooled us again. One team through to the Sweet 16 after all the talk about how the Mountain West was going to – they got a bunch of teams in, and then nobody other than San Diego State made it to the second weekend.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's got to be at the top of the list is the Mountain West. Super disappointing. For me personally, I'm not really sure. I feel like I just did bad betting single games the first day or two, but thank goodness for some of my futures to kind of cancel that out. But I don't know if that's really a lesson learned because I kind of knew that the first couple days could be hard, and maybe you do just bet more dogs and stuff like that. But also I'm not going to get lucky with my futures every year either. So I'm not sure if I have a huge lesson learned. I think part of it is like having great guests and prepping and having some good futures and also luck, to be honest. I'm not super disappointed with how I'm doing this year, but I also don't know if this is going to continue.
Well, that's a good point because that's where I wanted to take this. So we could have observations, but it doesn't mean that there are lessons learned. It doesn't mean that that's how things are going to go down in the future. It's just what happened this year. So is it going to be a trend for the future in future tournaments? I could point out a lot of stuff. Okay, this happened. Doesn't mean it's going to happen in the future. No, it doesn't. So it's a little dangerous to say lessons learned, but I thought there were some interesting things to point out. One of them, of course, NC State, one of the biggest stories. They were the hot team coming in. But there's always a bunch of hot teams. So should we take a closer look at every conference tournament winner that kind of came out of the blue? You could have that takeaway if you want, but there are also plenty of examples that we're not going to talk about, that most people are not going to bring up, of the hot team that flamed out in the first game. That happens too. It just doesn't get as much attention as NC State is this year. Like, this team was, again, not supposed to be here. And they got in, they stole a bid, and the committee made a big deal about all the bid stealers. And then they just keep on rolling. They're playing by far, it's not close, by far their best basketball of the year. People have been saying, wait, why didn't I know about DJ Burns? I would have loved to have been rooting for this guy all year. The reason is he wasn't this guy. This team didn't play this well all year. That's why they were barely in the bubble.
And you have to wonder about a team like Oakland. Like, if they didn't run into NC State, would they have maybe gone on a little bit more of a run?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, were we fooled maybe maybe we're, if you want to call it being fooled, if you want to call it a lesson learned, or is it just the trend? I don't know. But the idea of buying into conference reputation, like, this is something that happens every year. I'm guilty of it, to be honest. Like, I'll watch games, especially through that lens, down the stretch and leading up to the conference tournaments. I'll go, oh, well, but I mean, Big East is strong at the top, but how deep is it? The ACC, oh, it's a weak ACC again this year. And then they get into the tournament and they play the way they did. They've got a team in the Final Four. Definitely not one of the teams from the ACC we expected in the Final Four, but they've got a team there. Oh, the Mountain West, that part that I mentioned to start. Maybe what fooled us is buying into those conference narratives, for lack of a better way to put it. Like, the ACC, stop trying to lump every team in with what the rest of their tournament is doing, or the rest of their conference, is doing. Maybe that's a lesson learned.
If you talk to a lot of these coaches, a lot of these players, especially at 3 of the sites that have happened, who knows what happens in Phoenix, but they've been complaining about the inflation of the ball levels, which I do think is a real thing. Like, there are videos out there of really, really sound ball handlers with the ball coming up like above their heads on normal dribbles and the ball hitting the rim and sounding too hard. And they keep saying, like, they've got these brand new basketballs and they're overinflating them. They're not worn because of use. And we're not used to that. Like, you use balls that are kind of worn throughout the season. They have that standard give. And then you get to the tournament and it's like playing an entirely different sport because you've got to adjust to the ball. So, maybe take a gander at how that ball is bouncing at the beginning of games in Phoenix and see if it feels like it's a little bit too high. See if the officials are checking it a little bit more. But the under always feels like a safe bet in the Final Four, just because, the shooting in these stadiums, it's always a little bit weird. Maybe see how the first game goes before you bet the second one. But like, if I'm betting totals in either one of these games on Saturday night, I'm probably going with the under, because UConn, for as good as they've been, they've also had some shooting slumps where they've just they've gone through stretches where the ball just hasn't been going in the basket. So maybe first half under is the play there. You're seeing more really good college big men who don't have that versatile skill set sticking around for extra years in college. And then all those teams that we thought had these dominant big men got beat in the NCAA tournament really early or didn't make a run. So it was back to like guard play, guard play, guard play. But yeah, 3 of these 4 teams, they play through their centers. Donovan Clingan has been fantastic for UConn in this run. Edey did what he did yesterday, scoring 40 points, and he's been the best player in college basketball this whole season. The only team that doesn't really is you've got Alabama, who's their big men are taking threes and they're driving to the basket, so they're more of the modern style. But yeah, I do think this is going to be something that we see in college for at least the immediate future, where you've got big men who have the skill set. Like Zach Edey, I think, can be a pro. You're seeing him talked about as being a first round pick, but he's going to be a pro where it's a niche thing. He goes out there and plays 10, 15 minutes a night and does one thing specifically well, and kind of takes up space, dominates the boards, does all that. These guys aren't going to the NBA to be Joel Embiid. They're not going to be superstars. So when you get that big man in college who's going to dominate at this level, I think you see them probably take that gigantic NIL money and they don't make that leap after their sophomore year, after their junior year. So I think that, this could very easily be a trend where the traditional big winds up becoming more of a staple in college basketball than it has in recent years.